I lived in a constant state of activation my entire life before recovery. I didn't know it until I wasn't in that state any longer. I'm no longer addicted to chaos, drama, and dysfunction. So people yelling and screaming all the time is very disturbing to me, and I don't like it. Now, I can't turn my brother into someone who doesn't talk about politics, and I can't turn him into someone who doesn't scream and yell. But what I can do is limit the amount of time I'm around him. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery, where I help people heal their emotional, psychological, and spiritual wounds and make deep, lasting changes in their lives. I'm the founder and CEO of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting, LLC, where I coach people on how to develop healthy boundaries. On this podcast, I share my experience, strength, and hope from recovery. I don't support or endorse any particular 12-step recovery fellowship, and I don't claim to speak for any particular 12-step fellowship. I also don't believe that 12-step recovery is the only way to recover. You might need additional help. My hope is that you'll find my words concretely helpful in improving your life, whether you're in recovery or not. This is episode 143. If I'm disturbed, there's something wrong with me. This is a saying in step 10 of the AA 12 Steps and 12 Tradition books, or the 12 and 12 for those who know the lingo, that I share with clients all the time. It's been extremely helpful to me in my recovery, and my clients find it very helpful too. Here's the direct quote. It's a spiritual axiom that every time we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there is something wrong with us. Now, a lot of people take issue with this because they think it means that they're always in the wrong, and that is not at all what it means. What it means to me is if I am disturbed and I want to be undisturbed, then it's up to me to make that happen. It doesn't mean nobody did anything or we're to blame for everything. It just means that if I'm the one who's disturbed, then I'm the one who's in charge of undisturbing myself. This reminds me of a quote that I love. I've talked about it before on the podcast, and in fact, I believe I did an entire episode on it, which I will leave in the show notes. It's one of my favorites, and I thought I knew what it meant before recovery, but no, I didn't. And it's this: better to put slippers on your feet than to carpet the world. And the idea there is if something is disturbing you, like the floor is cold, then put slippers on your feet. You don't have to lay a carpet throughout your entire house or over the entire world. Rather than blaming the world for having cold floors, you can actually do something about it, like put slippers on your feet. What most of us do before we get into recovery is we try to make everything around us be okay so that we can be okay. We have this mistaken belief that if everything was just the way we wanted it, we'd be fine. If other people would do things our way, if the government would do things our way, if other drivers would do things our way, we'd be okay. So we try to carpet the world, or we try to make people stop disturbing us. But we can't change other people. This is what the Serenity Prayer is all about, and it's really what recovery is all about, is coming to understand that. In the Serenity Prayer, we ask for the courage to change the things we can and the wisdom to know the difference between the things we can and cannot change. So what are the slippers we want to put on our feet? How do you figure out what are the things that you can do to undisturb yourself? And of course, there's the part of the prayer, the acceptance of the things we cannot change, which is other people doing fucked up shit or social forces not working the way we want them to. If you're anything like I was before recovery, you probably take it personally when people act like assholes. But the reality is the vast majority of the time, other people's behavior has nothing to do with you. If you think about your own behavior, you're just sort of bopping around in the world, doing your thing, and you're not thinking like, oh, okay, how do I screw up this person's life? Most people are not like that. Now, there are few exceptions with people who are like sociopaths, but those people are extremely rare. Most people are just doing their thing. They're not really thinking about you. So if you're disturbed and you want to be undisturbed, it's up to you to make that happen. And you taking their shit personally is going to preclude you from taking charge of that. If other people really are to blame, you're screwed. So let me give you a few examples from my own life. I'll share about my brother, who I've shared about many times, and he's an extremely loud person whose normal tone is yelling. And he's also extremely political, and he just screams and yells about politics all the time, and it's very disturbing to me. One, I don't get involved in politics anymore. It just doesn't serve me. It is not good for my mental health. And me having poor mental health is not good for the world. So paying attention to politics doesn't serve me. Two, I can't handle yelling and screaming. I no longer put up with that shit. I lived in a constant state of activation my entire life before recovery. I didn't know it until I wasn't in that state any longer. I'm no longer addicted to chaos, drama, and dysfunction. So people yelling and screaming all the time is very disturbing to me, and I don't like it. Now, I can't turn my brother into someone who doesn't talk about politics, and I can't turn him into someone who doesn't scream and yell. But what I can do is limit the amount of time I'm around him. Now, don't get me wrong. When I first got into recovery and I learned that boundaries were a thing, I did try to get him to change. And I said things like, hey, I can hear you, or please lower your voice. And your voice is really hurting my ears. But it didn't matter. He's just incapable of speaking in a normal tone of voice. I also said, I don't want to hear about politics a number of times. And he's incapable of not speaking about politics. So I realized that I have to spend almost no time with him because I want to be undisturbed and I'm in charge of that. Now, actually, I haven't spent any time with him during the pandemic. I've not even talked to him. And to be honest with you, it was very peaceful over the holidays. For me to have no desire to spend time with my family and to have no guilt about it either was so peaceful. Because it's disturbing to me that no one in my family wants to celebrate the holidays the way I do. So the way I manage it is to not spend time with them. Another way I've learned to be undisturbed is by stopping the notification of various apps on my phone and by turning the ringer off almost all the time. Now, if I'm not busy, I don't mind if people call or text me. But when I am busy, I would get pissed off at them for messaging me. And I realized, hey, I can silence my phone or I can turn off notifications on Instagram so I don't get pinged every single time someone messages me or comments on a post. I also got disturbed when my sweetheart, who is an amazing gardener, started poking around and watering and trimming my houseplants. Then he tried to tell me how to take care of them, some of which I've had for like fucking 30-something years. And I was really disturbed by that. And it was kind of actually out of proportion, to be honest with you. Well, I wanted to be undisturbed by that. So I told him, listen, you have 100% control over the garden beds outside that you planted for me. Those are yours, and I'm never going to interfere. But inside, these plants are mine, and you have no say about them. They're my plants, and if I bring them to the brink of death, it's none of your business. Please let me fail with my plants if that's what I want to do. So those are just some examples of the slippers I've put on my feet. So what are the slippers you need to put on your feet? Where have you been trying to carpet the world instead of putting slippers on your feet? I'd love to hear what you come up with. Either DM me on Instagram or email me, barb@higherpowercc.com. I was recently reminded by a friend that when I first started recovery, I didn't feel lovable. I almost can't believe that I used to feel that way, and that I kind of forgot something so profound because I truly love myself now. And I want that for everybody. If you don't love yourself, there's literally nothing that can make up for that. I created something exclusively for my private clients since many of them don't love themselves. And I've now opened up my private vault to share it with up to 10 people individually. It's called the Self-Love Sprint. You'll grow to love yourself and truly feel worthy so you can stop saying yes when you really want to say no, stop neglecting yourself and putting everyone else first. Stop saying all kinds of nasty shit to yourself. That is not what people who love themselves and feel deserving do. You'll stop being afraid that others will think that you're selfish for taking time to care for yourself. This is also for you if you don't really know who you are because you've always been such a fucking chameleon. Go to higherpowercc.com/love sprint. Remember, I'm only offering 10 of these, so don't wait. If you like this podcast, and I'm guessing you did or you wouldn't still be listening, then you're gonna love the other things I have to offer. If you'd love pre-released podcast scripts and episodes before anyone else gets them, or if you'd love access to content from my private vault that I developed exclusively for my private clients, which is like having a work session with me without me actually being there, go to patreon.com/higherpowercoaching. There are 3 tiers ranging from as low as $4 up to $24 a month. You'll also love my weekly newsletter, Friday Fragments, which has content very similar to the podcast. You can check it out at fridayfragments.news. That's fridayfragments.news. Please like and subscribe to my podcast on your favorite podcast outlet. I'd also love it if you'd leave a review, which you can do either in the show notes or on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other people find my podcast so they can get the benefits you've gotten from listening. If someone came to mind when you listened to this particular episode, please share it with them. And my favorite place to hang out on social media is Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching. Please DM me there. I'd love to hear what you got from this episode. I run group and private coaching programs on building healthy boundaries. Whether you need help with boundaries in your personal, professional, or romantic life, I can help. Head on over to barbchat.net, where you can hop onto my calendar for a free 30-minute Better Boundaries consultation. My ideal client is someone who is ripe for change. If that's you, I would love to work with you. My goal with all my work is to help you make lasting changes in your life like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. Remember, it's never too late to recover. No one is beyond hope, and healing is possible. Thanks for listening.